Hello, everyone, and welcome to our ChangeMaker Collective Live. I am Lee Mitchell, and I am joined by Mimi and Susan. And today we are going to be, let's give a wave. Today we are going to be talking about AI and how to make it more on brand for you, the authentic you. And I know that's something that we all struggle with. And we're so lucky to have an expert in AI who runs a mastermind with other entrepreneurs looking to save more time in their business to do the things that really matter and to automate some of the AI tasks related to marketing, PR, business that can really benefit from AI's talents. So, Susan, why don't you start by sharing a little bit about the mastermind and what prompts are really, some things that we could be working on to improve our authenticity in the in our social media and our marketing processes. So, welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hi, Mimi.
Hello.
Um, it's Friday for a long weekend, so the mood is great here in Canada. Um, okay, so voice, it's one of those things that I think people overcomplicate just a little bit. Like, think of it like delegating anything to someone, human or otherwise, has always been challenging. Like, I know people who've struggled to outsource their writing. They've struggled to, meaningfully um, outsource strategy, and that same sort of mindset, I think, comes with us into briefing AI as well. And I really like to sort of like think about it as delegation as opposed to this is a tool. Yes, it's a tool, but it's a super tool that can do a whole lot. And too often we are treating it like it's a junior assistant when really it's capable of being like a senior strategic resource, right? And so I think that mindset shift is the first thing in um, translating your brain into AI or downloading your brain into AI, right? And so I think that is one thing that we're going to cover. We'll be here on the 29th, and I hope a lot of folks will be joining us because we're going to talk about a couple of models in which, like, a framework for downloading that information, right? And then some sort of guardrails of what to avoid, as well as maybe what to emphasize. Oh, look, that's Carmela. I have a big. I love it. They're constantly wanting to climb on top of something, aren't they? I have a beagle too. He's like in the sunshine right over here. Should I show you mine?
Let's let her be a part of the live.
Like Beagle Central. Love it too. Such confidence. Like, enter the scene with ease.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think she has some. Maybe she wants to enter into her advice.
I love it. So yeah, on the 29th, we're going to talk about like a framework that you can use to just pass along that information into the machine, and also like decide that if there are certain tasks that you do over and over again, are there some more efficient ways to do it rather than prompting your machine every single time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's I love how you talk about it being a strategic assistant, because it really can help you work through some of the strategy that you might be not 100% on, and so it can give you different perspectives. I love how you have got it to prime it to think in different ways and to be a naysayer for you, and to really challenge your thinking. So I think that's good.
Yeah.
Mimi, do you want to?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with also what you said about, like, first of all, understanding like the misconception that people have about AI. I think they really need to understand that it's like what you said, like a super machine, and less robotic actually than people think it is, and you can tweak it. But I think people have this limitation and fear because again, the fear of, again, everything sounding maybe robotic or not real, or just because it's everywhere, so there's that fear about it. So I think in our upcoming session, really understanding and breaking down what AI is to begin with would really help.
Hmm. I
Yeah,
agree.
absolutely. So, in your mastermind, have you been seeing any trends in terms of the types of prompts that people are trying to work through to make their marketing more seem like them and less,
Um,
some of the generic things that we see? And I know you've done posts where you've pointed out what is obvious AI. And now I'm like hyper aware of it, even if it's my own, right? I'm like, oh,
you
I
can unsee it.
like that, but now I want to rejig it because it might look like I did it with AI.
And that in itself is a question that we have to ask ourselves, right? So what if we did it with AI?
Yeah.
Why is there still a little bit of shame and a little bit of like closet AI usage, are we afraid that people are going to judge us if we use it? Like, to the contrary, my thinking is like, yay us, like we're using it in a way that we're ahead of the curve, right? Even though the numbers will say things like 70% of all people in the workplace are using AI, I'd be willing to bet that's mostly like dabbling, right? It's mostly just
Mm,
experimental use, no systematic, structural, goal oriented strategy, perhaps, right? And so inside the mastermind, that's what we try, well, that's what we deal with. So it's it's specifically things that people are working on in their business that perhaps is taking time, or there are productivity gains to be had, or there's a block that needs some unblocking. And it's primarily founder led brands. Maybe it's either like a solopreneur or a team of 2 to 5, and those companies are super agile and they get a lot done with relatively small resources, right? And I think they are really understanding how to jump into AI, and the guidance piece is what I bring to it, which is like, you regularly need to be exposed to use cases. You regularly need to have someone be willing to switch on their screen share and show you how they did it, as opposed to talk in the air, right? I find a lot of people will talk about AI in a sort of a hypey way or a future
mm,
oriented way. It's all like, oh, this has killed website design, or like,
right.
in 2 years you won't need any writers. Like, it's all a little scaremongery and hypey.
Mhm.
And then instead, I would love for people to just come forward with like, this is how I used it and this is what it did for me. And I think that we're in that place. And inside the Marketing Power Circle, we're taking it a level further. We're working on creating custom GPTs right now. So
Yeah.
think of custom GPTs as like prompting on crack, right? I mean, you have to you have to take the workflow, and I'll often say, if you think of it in like a journey metaphor, like,
Hmm.
you need to know how you're getting there right now. Like, if you're
Yes.
taking your car and you're driving to a place, like, how are you doing it right now, right? Where are you stopping? Like, what
Mhm.
are the lights? Where's the
Mhm.
traffic? Those kind of things. Once you know that, without AI, I think it becomes much easier to be like, how do I optimize that? Sorry about the word. I hate those like creative business words like optimize. But how do I optimize the journey? How do I get there maybe faster, or how do I get there more effectively, or how do I get there with less waste, or whatever that looks like.
Yeah, so we have a question that's come in. Umar is asking, AI should, or maybe it's a comment more than anything. AI should be like one's reflection. We can't see it like an astro project of oneself plus additional qualities. So yeah, I think I like that. It should be a reflection. And I know, I think it was you or someone who gave me some advice that you can fix the settings on your AI so that you can say how you talk, like how formal, different words. If there's like certain things that, you know, even like I've trained it to know what emoji is my signature emoji, things like
Yeah.
that. So it does save a lot of time when you take a bit of an effort to add in some of those customizations. And yes, I have started working on my own custom prompt, which is such a cool thing to do. I feel so techy.
I
And so
know,
I
even I
want to
feel that
try
way. That's
training.
probably because it's been, this kind of thing has been only possible with code, and it's only possible, for the hallowed halls of technology. And then suddenly being able to sort of pull it together in like minutes, like absolutely minutes, instead of weeks or months or whatever it is quite a thrill. But to your point, and your question over there of like, giving it, like putting it in the settings, there's a couple of things to think about. So, what is your usage, not you specifically, but what is one, whoever's listening, what does your usage look like, right? And if you're primarily using it for yourself, and it's mostly for either you and your business, in that case, there is an overarching settings inside, like, the main section. And over there you want to specify those types of things that you want, like you said, like, use this language, use these emojis, use this tone of voice, and this is what my brand looks like, etc. um However, if you're in more of like an agency setting, or you're dealing with multiple clients, you're a coach or you're a consultant, or that kind of scenario where perhaps you have multiple threads and you're working on behalf of multiple people, in that case you might want to separate it out a little bit. Like, keep your overall custom instructions more general. Like, a couple of examples of what I would put in there is, I'll always specify that I want like Canadian spellings,
Right.
because often it will default to US spellings, right? And then I'll go back and correct everything because I'm just OCD like that. um
Had to be.
and so yeah, so that kind of thing I would specify, like, up top, like simple sentences, active voice, short sentences, those kind of things, which I would like for all of my creations to have. Now, if you have a client based set of instructions, then you go into, I mean, I'm not sure if the free version has this, but just projects, it has projects on the plus version, where you're allowed to, it's sort of organization, really, where you can put all your threads that relate to one project or one client, into one folder, and then you can save custom
Oh,
instructions inside of that as well. So that's what I would do if
Wow.
I was working with. I wouldn't put it all at the top level. I would put it into the project level. And then once you've done something a certain number of times and you find like you're doing it 1, 2, 3 times a week, then it's your sign to make a custom GPT.
Oh.
oh, that's interesting. Okay,
That's
so
very interesting. Now I know what the projects are for. So for each project, you could save a different prompt, and I think that's why maybe let's say I'm working on something, maybe yesterday, and then today I come back to the same thing, and maybe I open it on a fresh new page. I notice that if I'm trying to recall that same thing that I'm doing, or to make the tool recognize it, it takes time, and I have to refer back to that old project that I was doing. So now I understand why it does that. It's because each project has a custom tone, and it saves it in there, and that's interesting to know.
Yeah. Well, you have to do a little bit of the entering of the details as well. But yes, the models themselves have gotten way smarter, right? And if you do a certain amount of work, if you're a prolific user, and maybe we can spend a minute over there to define what levels of usage look like, right? So, like, I'd say if you are at a beginner level using AI, you're probably using it 2 to 3 times a week, maybe an hour or two each time. um, and then if you're in the sort of intermediate level, you're using it every day, I think. And potentially you're using it every day in a way that's, quite a bit, like a couple of hours or more every day, where you're using it to fulfill a number of your projects. And then I'd say advanced usage is things like this, like you're making GPTs, you're creating automations, it's running in the background. Like I can't even count how many hours a day I use AI, like potentially like all of my working hours when I'm not on calls. Because all, like, I think of how if you're working on marketing, you're probably going to open up a, like a Canva or a Google Docs or a whatever, and then that's just running in the background and you're going back and forth. So that's kind of how I utilize it. So just really thinking about what is your level of utilization, and then if you're a prolific user, you want to really start thinking about how to leverage the tool instead of just sort of doing over and over again the same stuff, because you don't need to. It learns from you, right? And it gets better.
Okay, we have another comment or question that came in. So we have Terrell, who finds that the trap most people fall into with AI is focusing too much on the prompt and not enough on the context. So that's an interesting thought. Any words on that?
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I'm picking up what she's putting down. I think too often people get a little hung up on going through all of the layers of like trying to tell it you're doing this and you're doing this and you're doing this, and maybe it doesn't need to be like that. Like sometimes my prompts don't look really complicated. Like I would start off something with, "Hey, I'm going to like chat with you about something. We're going to like brainstorm a problem out, and I want to go one step at a time." I would ask me a question, listen to what I'm saying, and then respond. So just that iterative way of doing it, that's much more thinking based, much more like conversation based, and I certainly enjoy that. There is a time and a place as well for more complex prompts or super prompts. Like there are certain actions that I will run, such as my podcast, like taking podcast and converting it into a certain number of things and stuff. It's like it almost always looks the same, right? And so in that case, that's immediately, like I said, a candidate for a custom GPT. If you're doing it the same way over and over again.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So in this 30 minutes, and we're getting close to wrapping up our 30 minutes. So I want to make sure we get through all of the things that we promised. So we've talked a little bit about using projects for customizing different clients, which is great. I know Mimi is in the agency and PR world, so her community
Yes.
probably would love knowing about that. I wasn't aware of that, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
We talked about getting very specific about writing styles and general settings that we can use to adjust, which is helpful. And what do you have any other prompts for emails or follow-ups or pitches that you can think of that might be useful? Even one of the three is great.
From a revenue perspective, I'm always sort of cautious in my advice to people, because the last thing we want to do is just add more to the offensive pile of cold outreaches that are thoughtless and soulless and just generally a waste of time on all sides, right? And so when it comes to creating that kind of content, I recommend that people use it for research, right, as opposed to using it necessarily to frame out all of your language. You could, once you've done the research. So if I don't know Mimi at all and I'm going to reach out to her, the way that the status quo that exists today is like, it'd be like, "Hi Mimi, I know that you and I both know Lee Mitchell. Would you like to buy my shit?" Like, I mean, come on. We can do better than that, right? And so what I would do is I would go and I would look up Mimi, and then I would put some information from her, her LinkedIn into this, and I'd be like, can you give me some key angles that sort of cross over with the topics that I'm interested in, that we could start a discussion with. And then I might go on to like Mimi's LinkedIn or alternative social, and I'd see what she's talking about, and then I'd pull together some of those things. Maybe if there's comments in there, I'd pull together some of those and I'd put it into my AI, and then I would be like, like structuring a whole, these are data points, right? All of these things that I'm describing right now, they're data points. And so I would bring those data points together to create a bit of a narrative, or to create a bit of a dialogue that I can get started, bearing in mind that we're making it relevant for the other person and not just for your own goals.
Okay, well, that's, I think you've really gotten into the heart of taking it a step further and not just going to the traditional way that we try to make connections with people, and just making it a little bit more meaningful, diving a little deeper into getting some really specific prompts that could help us to develop a more refined pitch that's not just based off of like the typical things that you mentioned that are quite funny, because I know we all do that.
How much of our inbox is full of it, right? I mean, I think it's like there's so much of it. Like I actually lose some of the real genuine messages under this clutter. So I think there's definite opportunity there to improve that, and just show up in a way that's more human. Often, people are talking about at this point like results in terms of I save time. This used to take me 10 hours, it now takes me 3 hours, and that's great. I think that's an excellent metric at the start to see how it's reducing your time. But then what are you doing with the 7 hours? Are we going to stuff it full of more busy work, or are employers going to say to employees like chop, let's do something else for the remaining 7 hours? Or are we going to like pick it up a notch, like take it higher, like get more think bigger, like let's solve bigger problems, let's live in our zone of genius and make impact and reach more people. Like one example, like Lee, thanks to you and your awesomeness, I teach at York University. I got the mug. And
I'm also a Yorkie, so
there you go. And so the reason I bring that up is because for me, an example of what I have done with the time that I saved is this. Like this has been a sort of a part of my list for a very long time. It's like one day I will teach, right? And in a reasonable world, that one day wasn't going to come very quickly, right? Because I already have a day job, and I have a lot of stuff going on. I have a teen, I have a dog, I have a thousand things that's always there to take my attention. But I feel like between 2022 and when the OpenAI sort of like redefined the market, and then everyone else picked up their game as well. From then to now, there's quantifiable like time gains for me in my life. And the way that I am able to see that come to life is this. I'm like, look, I took on a teaching role, and I'm able to do it, and I'm able to see that I really enjoy that, because that's where I put my impact time. I'm like, the impact I want to make in the world is this. And I want to create AI literacy for hundreds of thousands of people over the course of my life. And so this I invite you to think like that. What's the next step? What's calling out to you? What's your higher purpose? And then take some of this stuff off your plate so that you can go and do that, because you're meant to.
Oh, I just love how you're ending this. You couldn't have planned it better. So thank you. So that's a great primer for giving a final plug to our event that's coming up. So if you haven't registered, make sure you go over to the ChangeMaker Collective, go to our events tab, and register so that we can spend a good 45 minutes to an hour really diving into how you can be more impactful, how you can serve your purpose better, with it helping your sales, your strategy, and just really making you be able to achieve your goals in more impactfully and in more efficient ways. So thank you so much for this, Susan and Mimi. This has been great. So any final parting words from each of you before we say goodbye?
Susan, I think
go
you
ahead,
go.
Mimi.
No, you go first.
Oh, this is the most Canadian show ever. No, you. I'm sorry, you. I was just gonna say the actual masterclass on the 29th is a lot more structured. There will be slides, there will be frameworks, there will be things. So bring your brain and your notepad, and there'll be plenty to take away.
Yes, and it will be in Zoom. We'll have it will be very interactive. So you do have to register for it. There is no cost for that. And yeah, you'll get to have a more beautiful opportunity to get to know Susan and her wisdom at a deeper level. Mimi?
Yes, I just want to say thank you for this session. This was fun, interactive, and I could already feel like there will be a lot of interesting questions coming up on the 29th. So please join us. There will be a lot of resources to get from this, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too. Have a great long weekend. It's my birthday on Tuesday, so
happy birthday
to me
to
and Nick. I know you
you.
just celebrated too, right? Your birthday was just a few weeks ago, so happy belated birthday to you.
Is me?
Yeah, it wasn't it? Oh my gosh, am I embarrassing myself?
No.
Why did I think it was your birthday?
I'll take it, but my
Okay,
birthday's in
all right.
December.
In my mind, it was your birthday. Whoops. Anyway, when is your birthday?
27th of August.
Okay, I was totally off.
Maybe
Not
it's
even
me
close.
then.
First and not the last.
Maybe it's Mimi.
Maybe it was me because mine was 2 months ago.
Okay,
Okay, that's
no, it was someone whose birthday popped up into my feed. Oh, you know who it was? It was Kadeen. That's who it was. That's who I'm thinking
Nice.
of. Kadeen's birthday.
Happy birthday, Kadeen.
Yeah, happy birthday, Kadeen.
And happy birthday, Lee.
All right, thanks. Oh, look. Oh, we've got a few people who've popped on to say great content. So I'll just flash those onto the screen. And yeah,
Nice.
thank you so much. And thank you, Susan. So we'll see you on the 29th.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you on the 29th. Bye, Mimi.
Bye.